We're going to start in beautiful Larimer County in Colorado. It is approximately an hour or so north of Denver depending on where you get off on I-25. In the last 20-some years, it has seen a large influx of new residents moving from the coasts, mostly from California, but I've met more than one New York City refugee there over the years. We're starting in Fort Collins, driving on Timberline Road. If you wanted to find it on Google Maps, then look for the corner of Timberline and Harmony Roads, and it's north from there, and then later will be the drive south. If you watched my first video where I broke the suburbs into 4 categories, these will be the last one. Everything in this video was built in the last 30 to 35 years, with some homes being less than 10 years old. The first thing we see is apartment buildings. Yes, the suburbs have apartment buildings even if they are only 2 to 3 stories tall. Most of these are most likely rentals, but some may be condos. You will even see some townhomes if you look close. Timberline is a major road in the city of Fort Collins, and the least valuable homes will be close to the busy road. And this is why you can see apartments from the road. In the newer suburbs, the single-family homes are the most valuable, and the best ones will usually be away from the noise of the main roads. The smaller streets will be full of dead ends and cul-de-sacs and feed into Timberline for the through traffic. Another thing you will notice is there is a sidewalk. This is dependent on location, but unlike the picture painted by urban YouTubers, many suburban towns will have sidewalks. These videos were taken on weekdays, mostly during the morning and afternoon rush hours, but people will use the sidewalks to walk, run, or bike. One thing that I edited out is that there are grocery and other retail between the homes. Many of the homes are within a 10 to 15-minute walk of a supermarket and other retail. You need a car here, but you can still walk as well. There are also trees. Many urban YouTubers will paint the suburbs as these places devoid of nature, and while they are partly right, there are many beautiful towns with a lot of greenery. As I said before, this is a newer part of the city that was built out more recently, and the trees aren't as mature yet. In 10 to 20 years, they will be twice as tall and provide a lot of shade. Taking these videos and looking at Zillow, I noticed that the older parts of the city will have the tallest trees and the most greenery. Now Fort Collins does have a bus system, but unless you wanted to waste a day on half a dozen buses you drive. This is the freedom the suburbs offer. You get in your car and drive wherever you want at any time you want. Now we're in the neighboring city of Loveland in an older subdivision. I'm not sure how old it is, but you can clearly see the homes all look different. These are all custom or rebuilt homes. There is a lake behind the homes, and there are 2 docks I drive by and lots of trucks parked in the driveway. Most people have water rights, and the trucks are used to tow their boats to the dock to enjoy a weekend on the lake. If this was New York City, you'd have to take a dirty subway to Central Park and pay a bunch of money for some old boat and look at the tall buildings instead of enjoying nature. Now there weren't any sidewalks here, but you don't need any. Traffic moves slower, and drivers are more careful on residential streets. I ran on this road a few times a week and never felt unsafe thinking I might get hit by a car. Next, we cross the traffic circle in Boyd Lake Ave and go into a new development from the last few years. The lake's at Centera. There were apartments in the area for a long time, and the developer finally built out the single-family homes in the last half-decade. The first thing we see is that the homes all look different, from the colors to the exterior design. I will get into more detail in later videos, but many of these were built by one of the national home builders, and they offer a lot of customization during the process. The next thing we see is the constant traffic circles. 15 years ago, Boyd Lake Ave was a 50 miles per hour drive all the way down to US Highway 34. But part of the build-out of the lakes at Centera was the addition of traffic circles to slow down traffic and make it easier to turn onto the through road. Once I turn into the development, the most shocking thing is that the sidewalk continues. The urbanist YouTubers wanted to make you think that living in the suburbs, you're trapped in your home, and you will get run over by a car if you walk in the street. But the reality is the complete opposite. I edited a lot of the driving out, but the Fort Collins area has a lot of sidewalk between developments. So if your friends live a mile away, you can easily walk there. There are also a lot of bike lanes and little car traffic. The whole point of developments like these is to minimize car traffic and keep through traffic on through roads. I've run on the sidewalk and the bike lane and bike there feeling perfectly safe. The last development will be back in Fort Collins, just off Timberline Road, but south of where we started. This was a quick trip for me, but you can see how many of these are mixed developments of single-family homes and condos or apartments. And you can see that there is no straight way through the development, and it forces you to slow down. I've driven there many times, and there are frequently kids playing in the street, and this is why things are designed the way they are. And you can't drive through the development to the next main road. You have to stay on the main roads. But as you can see, there are no cookie-cutter homes. Many homes look similar, but most were customized during the building process. That's not to say that there weren't cookie-cutter homes, but those are mostly built by smaller developers or lower-cost homes. Next video we'll go to the Northeast and drive through and look at some old towns with a mix of old and newer homes.